Victory Health Radio, where diseases are defeated. You can lose 20 pounds in 30 days, and you're going to be set free from all of your health problems. I'm your host and health coach, Dr. Jake Parrish. I'm a wellness physician, co-owner and founder of Victory Chiropractic and Wellness here in Knoxville, Tennessee. You can go to our website, victoryhealthcenter.com. Our clinic and this radio show was birthed out of a vision and a mission for this community to change the way that healthcare is managed and delivered so that you can live life abundantly. You can live life to your purpose, and you can do the things that God is calling you to do. Rob and Francie Brown are going to join me today, and they're going to talk about telling your story and how important it is to that those things that you go through, man, those are important life lessons that you're learning. And those problems that you have, those are signs and symptoms that something's going on inside of your body. And you know, the first thing I really want you to do is recognize that you are your patterns and you have a choice to break them. And so you also have to realize that your past does not equal your future. The things that happen in the past do not equal your future, do not make up exactly who your future is going to be. It does make a part of who you are, and praise God for that, and praise God for your stories. And so when we're talking to Rob and Francie, I think the big thing that they've let me know in my life, and so here's how this relationship goes, is that you serve, and in those people that you're serving is that they want to serve too. And so we're all on the same team, and so we all have a part of life. And so I believe my job is to help specifically believers to be healthy so that they can serve God, and they can continue their mission in the kingdom. And so I'm kind of like that middleman, and it's what an honor to be like a middleman for the kingdom of Christ. And so what I really want to go through today, and what they're going to talk about, is not just the movie that's coming up, but we want to talk about that your past does not equal your future. Just because you may have a rough childhood, rough relationships, and you may even be in still rough relationships, that doesn't mean that that's your future, and you have to live in that forever. Also, your mindset and the things that in the past is that we live in these limited belief systems. And so I've always been late, and I'm always going to be late, and I'm just a late person. And that's just not true. And so you have a choice to change today. You just have to take action on it. And so many people out there, you're listening today and you think that, you know what, I'm stuck where I am, or I'm doing whatever. But you know what? Fast. You got to submit your body to the Lord. Like I said before, is that you have, you know, twice a year at Victory, like literally we have dozens of people every single year that get relieved from the bondage of their mind and of those negative limiting beliefs. And so you'll see people like quit their job. They're making $100,000 a year. They're going to ministry, and it's like, what in the world? What are you doing? And so the thing is, those kind of decisions, those aren't world decisions. Those are kingdom decisions. And the thing is that you have to step out in faith, and you have to believe that He's going to take care of you if that's truly what you're called to do. And are you pressing into the Lord like you're supposed to? When we talk about relationships, one of the best things that you can do, and the hardest things to do though, is that you may think that your life is going right, but then you ask your wife what's going on and what's going wrong, and she says, "Hey man, you're not pulling your weight." And so what do you do with that kind of thing? Are you the type of person that receives that as condemnation, that is just somebody trying to attack you? Or is that conviction from the Lord that says, hey man, it's time to start doing something else? And so how do you decide that? I think one of the primary things is starving your flesh. I think that not just with food, but like turn off the social media, turn off the Facebook, man. Stop reading the news. Stop watching the news. Stop worrying about the election. And process the things that are really up front and so important to you, because you only have this amount of time. You only have a certain amount of time in your life. And here's what we ask you to do is get the best out of your life. Run your race. And at the end of your life, you want to look back and go, dude, I won my race. Victory Health Radio.
Walk these halls alone. We can feel so far from so close, like ships in the night. You keep passing me by, just wasting time. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all?
Welcome back to Victory Health Radio. I'm your health coach and wellness physician, Dr. Jake Parrish. This is the show where diseases are laid to rest, no matter what your health struggle is. Maybe it's high cholesterol and you got to get it down. Maybe it's high body weight or high blood pressure, and you are afraid to go back to the doctor because he's going to put you on medication or whatever it is. Hey, listen, if you want to lose weight or you're struggling with depression or anxiety, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, this is the show for you. As always, we always offer a chance for you to come into the clinic. We don't have a bunch of appointments and we don't have a bunch of availability. It's one of the busiest offices in America, but we want to serve you. And so we set aside 5 appointments in the office every single week for people that listen to the show. If you want to come into the clinic, we'd love to serve you, whether it's neck pain or back pain or Crohn's disease. It doesn't matter what the label is just because a doctor or some kind of profession wants to label you as so-and-so doesn't mean you have to claim that label. It just means that you have a label and you can break free from it. You're a child of God. We're just going to we want to bless you. And in about a month or so, we're going to have a community center open and man, homeless are going to get fed and relationships are going to be renewed. And really believe the next 20 years is that we'll see a turnaround. And so just like the last 4 years where people are taking less medications, we've really educated the community about just being healthy and taking care of your health. Ultimately it's a calling on your life, is that you have to take care of that temple. And one of the things about taking care of your temple is taking care of your mind. And so I think that I've got Rob Brown and Francie Brown in the studio today from Gen 225. And I think one of the biggest things that I've seen happen with their lives is just mindset change, but also is that their ability to help people tell their stories, bring this stuff that hurts so bad from deep down. I don't, no crying, Rob. We're both going to cry. So if you don't know our hearts, man, we'll be teared up in a minute. But, I was thinking last night, that I don't remember a lot of my childhood because of the pain, and I blocked a lot of stuff out. And so I don't remember. My mom's always like, you don't remember anything. And it's not that I don't remember. I just I don't have cues in my life anymore to bring out some of those memories. And so because I've removed those cues. But man, I've got a cousin that I grew up with, and he tells stories, to me about all this stuff that we did when we were kids and everything else. And then I start remembering, but, I have a pretty tragic history when I was growing up. I know that you guys do as well. And so I want to talk about the mission of Gen 225, which is restoring hope to men, women, families in the workplace. We find healing and freedom through story exploration and begin to dream and long for the time when we will walk again in the presence of God without fear or shame. Gen 225 says the man and his wife were both naked and felt no shame, and that is certainly not the case for today. You guys have an event coming up, so we're going to talk about a few things, but got a monster event. When I first started reading anything, one of the first books that I read, I was in South Carolina. I was going to school. I was going to church at Evangel Cathedral, and in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and got a book. It's called Walking with God. It's by John Eldridge, and I was like, man, it's just good stuff. And so now, from Knoxville to Austin to Nashville to Orlando to Houston, you guys are partnering with John for a big event coming up. And so we were wanting to know if you could share that with us. And we also wanted to honestly drive people into this thing and just make it bigger than what it is. So the event is
May 19th.
Okay.
It's a major motion picture premiere. It's one night only, playing at 700 theaters across the United States. Here in Knoxville, basically all ticket sales and all availability goes through Gen 225. We're an alliance partner of Ransom Heart and the Eldridge Ministry, but we're also covering 8 other cities around the country as well.
And so if you could, here's my understanding about the movie. It's a film about universal human search for meaning, set in high-stakes wilderness adventure on BMW GS off-road motorcycles. It follows 6 men, fathers and sons, and they set off through the back country of Colorado. But I'm sure you could tell me a little bit more about the movie.
Sure. So it's called A Story Worth Living, and so it is an epic picture. Quite frankly, it's 70% like Lord of the Rings, and then 30% kind of engaging men and as they travel on this journey, and then engaging with their spouses and girlfriends in the last part of the picture on what it means to go on a great adventure, and particularly how we all have a story that fits into a major epic story, God's story. So it's really, the more we begin to see how our story is significant, that enables us to walk more into the fullness of what God's story has intended for us.
Could you, so for those out there that aren't familiar with like storytelling, telling your own story and that kind of stuff, like like how does that work? Like how do you start to develop a story of your own and just be able to, because ultimately my story is like, sometimes I tell my story a lot, and so I feel like sometimes that I tell my story so much that it almost feels like I'm talking about myself all the time, but I'm not. I'm just trying to share with people like what God's done in my life. And so what does that look like? Are you talking about from, people are trying to remember from the moment that they're born, or just like critical moments in life, or how do you develop a story?
Sure. So let me just say, based on what it is you said earlier, especially when it is that you got emotional, and you and I have cried many a tear together. But memory loss is very common, as it's associated with our childhood trauma. And so it's a way that God's designed us to protect us. It's called dissociation. It's kind of when bad things are happening, we kind of go to a safe place somewhere else. And especially as children, that's how God created us, to protect us all too often. But it's all in there. So a lot of people, it's like, well, I just don't have any memories. And then when they come to engage with us, they can't stop unfolding these detailed memories of things that have long, like, they don't know why they can't forget this particular memory. So I know you and I have discussed on occasions significant trauma, but it's amazing the stories and memories that God gives to people. It's like there was an Easter egg hunt that didn't go well at all, that left someone feeling ashamed that they only found 4 eggs and their 4-year-old cousin found 20. And but they're in front of 100 people, and this is a 55-year-old man who has no idea why he's never been able to shake this story when he was 9 years old. And as we explored that story together as a group of men, it became very obvious that story was so significant in affecting the trajectory of his life.
And it'll hold you down. It's like an anchor that will not let you go. That song Oceans, and so stepping out into the water. And so sometimes, like, we can't even step into the water because we're so bound by stuff that we don't even realize. And so I remember. So I love. Here's the cool thing about a radio show is that we're not ashamed of what we got. So when I was a kid, I was in Boy Scouts for like 3 weeks. When I got my first badge, I can't remember what it was. And if you're a Boy Scout leader out there, you're probably going, he had to be in there for 6 weeks to get that badge or whatever. So I don't really remember. But I remember the first badge, they hold you by your feet upside down. And I remember he said, "Woo, this one's a husky one." And man, oh man. And so I left there and I didn't go back. And so I felt like, bless you. And I felt like I was just like, I wouldn't take my shirt off for probably the next, I don't know, until I was 25 or something, because I was ashamed and just walking in that. And so, I think that may seem small to somebody out there, and but that's deep rooted stuff. And so when we get back, I want to cover a couple things. I want to continue to talk with Rob and Francie just about like their mission. They've got some retreats coming up, and I want to be able to bless you and make sure that if you're suffering, if you have stuff that's to share, but you just are not there, or you cannot build your story, let Rob and Francie help you build your story and share your testimony with the world. Victory Health Radio. Welcome back to Victory Health Radio. I'm your health coach and wellness physician, Dr. Jake Parrish, co-owner and founder of Victory Chiropractic and Wellness here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Maybe you're a person out there, you've got high cholesterol, you got some kind of, who knows what you got going on. You got Sjogren's disease, you got lupus, you got fibromyalgia, you got headaches that just are not going away. You've got sinus problems right now. I'll tell you what, we are killing it at our house with essential oils, getting adjusted, making sure that we're hitting steam baths and all this other stuff. And so I'll tell you what, last week, me and my whole family, we were all runny nose, coughing, hacking, you name it. And this week we're a lot better, but I'll say this, I know people that have been suffering for like a month now and they just are not getting over it. And so if you want help with your problems, I'd love to serve you. Call the office right now, 865-357-2600, and schedule an exam. That's a free consultation. If there's any cost involved with that, we'll let you know before we get moving forward. And so we're here with Rob Brown and Francie Brown from Gen 225. And so once again, restoring hope to men, women, and families and the workplace. We find healing and freedom through story exploration and begin to dream and long for the time when we will walk again in the presence of God without fear or shame. And their scripture is the man and his wife, is Gen 225. The man and his wife were both naked and felt no shame. And so, confess a little bit of stuff, but that's because of the comfort of Francie and Rob. And so they do retreats all around the country. And so here's what I know is that at the retreat, man, you get freed. And so what freedom though comes with a cost, and that cost is a moderate amount of confession, but also, and one of the things that I have a hard time with is accepting help and asking for help. And so if I went to gen225.org, go down here looking at the different retreats, there's all kinds of stuff that you guys are doing. And I'll tell you what, when you first introduced this to me, it was a tenth of what it is now. I mean, this is massive stuff that you're doing. And so, okay, so I sign up for a retreat. Mm-hmm. Take me through the process of what that looks like.
Very good, very good. So we'll get to retreats in a moment.
Okay.
So let's go back to what happened here previously with you sharing
okay.
about you being held upside down,
Yeah.
And the boys, referring to you as being hefty.
Yeah,
husky. There you go.
Husky.
There you go. Husky.
With my tight blue shirt on and my tight pants that didn't fit. Yeah.
So Francie and I are sitting here in the studio, like tears streaming down our faces, while you are ready to move on to about retreats
mm-hmm.
and so on, which is good. But the tears come not only with from compassion for you,
yeah,
and just getting to know you, and entering into the cruelty of that, but also from our own stories. Both Francie and I have had as well in those same type of conditions. And also, it's funny that you bring that up, because a lot of people want to know, so what does this story mean and so on? What are you really talking about? Well, There is a written story on our website that actually relates to what it is you were just talking about. It's under healing on our website, gen225.org. And then Healing Leaves, and you'll see two example stories there. One is called Confrontation Point. And that's my story of when I was 13, fell off the side of a cliff, and you'll just have to read that for yourself. But I was 12, just turned 13, and was 180 pounds. So if you're paying close attention to that story, you might wonder, how did a 12-year-old get to be 180 pounds? Therein lies, that I'm with you.
There's a deeper level.
Yeah, there's a deeper level there.
It wasn't just a hanging him upside down and calling him husky. It was what was leading up to the reason that the child was husky, the reason that the child was overweight. There was other stuff going on, and so that's deeper. And so that's probably and so when we were talking about memories and stuff. Who knows really, And so as we continue to talk and continue to develop our relationship, we'll find deeper rooted stuff. And I think most people on the radio, if you've been listening for a while, you know my story. And Dad left when I was 5, and just broke my heart. And so in some of this, a lot of this, I've really gotten through and gotten past. And so would have never got over my dad if it wasn't for forgiveness. But it took 20 years, and so I had to actually walk through those steps of forgiving him to be healed. And so, but I had to let somebody know too. And so I had a couple good friends that just walked me through that. And then ultimately my wife, man, just a firm believer that, our wives are just so important. And I would, I'm not the guy I am. I'm not in church like I am today without Rachel. There's just no way. And so, because my flesh is like, hey, sleep in on a Sunday. You don't need to go there or whatever. Or just a brokenness is like doesn't want to go to church because I know I'm going to get healed there. And so, what are we talking about?
Absolutely. Okay, let me help us get back on track. The other thing I want to mention as well is that Francie also has a story on there called Cascade Farewell that maybe men should read just as much as women. What does it really, what does a story of a young girl even look like? So her and I being able to share those stories, those intimate stories there with you, I would hope that you would enjoy and also engage with honor there, because it's a sweet thing to be invited into someone else's of pain, hurt, and shame. So the last thing I guess I would say on your particular story is that there were other people involved. So one of the things you said early in the show that was just wonderful is that your past doesn't have to define your future. Well, C.S. Lewis says, that defeating the Christians is very easy to his minions. He says, very easy. You just keep them focused on the past and keep them focused on the future and not living in the present, and they'll just take care of themselves. But please understand, when it comes to the kingdom of darkness, the past, your story in the past does relate to your future and your patterns of behavior, especially in those places where there was never healing, there was never comfort, there was never grieving the loss of those things. So do we go back and dwell on the past? No. Absolutely. There's a place at which dwelling is just living in the past. There's no call to that, but finding healing, real healing. You mentioned freedom. Yes, there's freedom. All too often there's different programs, recovery in nature, recovery-based programs that address the things that I've done, the sins that I've committed against other people. And it's good to find forgiveness from those things. But no one, the church and most places, don't want to go to those places of where harm has come to us as children. Because what do you do with that? It's not about blame. We're not calling people to find who to blame. Because ultimately, by the time it rolls up, in those hardest of places, we're all kind of angry at God. Because if he's there 99% of the time, where was he when my dad died? Where was he when your dad left? If he's only there 99% of the time, then that 1% will haunt you as a Christian. So where is God in your story? Because he's there. Christ is there in every story, even though it's hard to imagine. So in our retreats, you have anything you want to say to that? In our retreats,
come on, bro.
Hey, in our retreats, we don't ask anybody to do things that they're not willing to do and they're not ready for. It's a matter of, God calls who's ready to come to these things. And they're sweet and they're safe, full of kindness and honor. There's only 12 men or 12 women at a retreat. So it's not some big 60 or 80 person ordeal where you have a great time and then kind of leave and, but it's so in those retreats, there's time alone with God. There's a large group, 12, as big as large can be. And then there's also what we call story groups, where there's 2 groups of 6, where we will take time to explore one particular story that we want to bring to the group that God's given us to bring. to the group. So it's really a sweet time of healing.
So Rob and Francie are parents of 4, and I'm currently newly parent of 4. And so one of the things that I've learned from them is just is not just like a deal with it kind of thing. It's more like it's a slow down just a little bit. And so I know when we first met, I'm still 800 miles per hour, but just enjoying the struggle. I think it's awesome. Hey, I want to talk about what I really want to focus on this next segment is safety. And so if we could talk about that, because it's impossible to share when you don't feel safe. And so just want to give some comfort out to the people that are really this is pressing on their heart, and Jesus is calling them to a retreat today, but they're like, oh, I don't want to do it. But you know what? This is the safest place you could be. We'll be right back. Victory Health Radio. Welcome back to Victory Health Radio. I'm your health coach and wellness physician, Dr. Jake Parrish. This is the show where diseases are laid to rest, no matter what your health struggle is. Maybe it's high cholesterol and you got to get it down. Maybe you want to lose some weight, or you're struggling with depression or anxiety. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, this is the show for you. Go to victoryhealthcenter.com, and if you want to come into the clinic, call 865-357-2600. We're here with Rob and Francie Brown today from Gen 225. Their mission and passion for life is to explore the depths of people's hearts and give freedom and relief for the burdened. And so not just that, but I mean, it's a lot more. But I wanted to talk about real quick. It is impossible to share your heart. It is impossible to change your life and to break over the hump unless you feel safe in an environment. And so these retreats, one thing I know is that they're small, they're private, and that they are life-changing, but they're also safe. And so what does safety mean? When I go to a retreat, I'm sharing my heart. I don't want to get my heart broke this weekend. What's that look like?
Safety is the utmost important to me.
Yep.
And I put down all those parameters for everyone as soon as we start, that we're not going to fix people, and we're not going to give advice, and we're not going to interrupt each other, and we're not going to recommend a book to read. All those things I can get out in the world. What I can't get often in the world, in the grocery store, even sometimes the church, I can't get a listening ear that isn't trying to fix me. So we work really hard on just listening, being curious, and letting God do the work. Because
He's the healer.
That's right.
You can't heal anybody.
That's exactly right.
I know, but there's
right.
a lot of power, and there's a lot of power in confession and just talking and just letting it rip, and so. What are the dates on? So if I'm a male, I'm a female out there, I'm a husband, wife, just coming to the realization, I'm listening to the show for the first time. I've heard about maybe I've even heard about you guys before. I had a friend that went to a retreat or something like that, but just don't know how to plug in. Like, how would I plug into a retreat for you guys, with you guys?
We have a retreat actually coming up May 13th through the 15th.
Okay.
Here in the Smoky Mountains at Eagle Rock. It is probably the most beautiful place I've been.
Awesome, man.
So it's gorgeous. There's another retreat, August 12th through the 15th. Both of those retreats have men and women retreats separately.
Okay.
So they are separate retreats. However, they are at the same time, which makes it convenient for quite a few people.
So guys out there that need a little bit of break away from your wife, and wifeys out there that need a little bbit of break and just a breather, why don't you hang out with Rob and Francie in May and August and just get renewed. And if anything, if you go to you go. So we're talking about a lot of stuff right today, and we're talking about like all this healing and bigger stuff, but ultimately just being in a relationship with somebody and starting that process is so important. And sometimes you need a couple days with somebody to trust them. And so, when I was asked to be an elder at my church, I didn't know this, but I was being tested, and so I got asked to go to a conference in Atlanta, stay overnight, and just kind of, and I didn't know it at the time, but they were watching me to see how I responded in different situations and see what kind of person that I was outside of church, and so sometimes that we need that. So Rob, so I want to talk about this movie because this is a big deal, man. This is not just like some kind of small event happening. This is a life-changing movie that is going to be like breaking people free. And so what do I need to get to do to get a ticket, and where is the movie going to be here in Knoxville?
Yeah. Very good. 7:30 or 7 p.m. is when everybody's going to gather at the reception table at Westtown Mall on May the 19th. It's going to be a big night. We have up to 600 seats in 2 theaters available as of right now. Just in one contact with the church, a block of 50 tickets, and then yesterday about 30 tickets were bought in just about 2 hours with other people at that same church. So one of my concerns, and that's why I want listeners to hear today, is that I know these churches are going to be buying up blocks of tickets. And I really want families, dads, sons, men, to be able to come. So the awesome thing about this opportunity to be with you today is to encourage people and individuals and families to go ahead and get tickets now. And you get those online at gen225.org. You get all the information there about the evening, also a trailer of the movie. Come and dream with us. Come and dream with us. Like I said, it's epic, and you are part of an epic story. Mm-hmm. If you walk away from this picture, you'll no doubt walk away excited and taken by the fact that you are one of God's amazing masterworks that, crazy enough, fits into even greater masterwork, no matter who you are. So I'm really excited about that. So again, you can call to get some tickets. The easiest thing is to get online, order tickets. Guess what? If you order them through Gen225, they're $4 cheaper than going through Regal. They're going through Regal. They've cut us a heck of a deal. The Eldridge family has taken special care of us, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And you also get free books, free Wild at Heart books going through Gen225.
So you get a free book. You get ticket to the movie. Now is John going to be there as well?
He is not going to be here in Knoxville. Okay. Again, this is showing at 700 screens.
That's awesome,
all over
man.
the country, and we're just hosting eight different cities. And those are cities where our retreats are going on. So we have got some here, obviously, in the Smoky Mountains, but we've also got retreats going on this year all over the country.
So we're pressing all our listeners today. May 19th is the night of the movie. You'll be meeting Rob there at the movies as well. That's at Westtown Mall. That is going to be, you're going to buy that ticket through gen225.org. The next retreats are May 13th through the 15th, August 12th through the 15th as well. And so if you listen, it's almost like generic to say, hey, if you want your life changed, then go to so and so. If you want to break free, then I would connect with these people. If I wanted to like change my life and find a new purpose for my life, and if I wanted to heal my heart from the inside out and renew some relationships that have been broken for a while, if I wanna like develop something that's powerful that I could write down on paper and that my grandchildren one day could read about me, not just the stories, not just like through word, but if I could even write something down and tell them about like who I am or like what my purpose was in life, so powerful, man. And I think that we miss that. I think that we're a storytelling culture. A people at least, but our culture is not necessarily like that. We're a tweeter, culture. We have 140, letters or whatever, or items or whatever, and man, that doesn't get a message out.
That's exactly right. So just like, and I appreciate you saying that, because this is not an end all be all. I mean, God has everybody on a path of redemption. And one day, as Christians, we will be healed. We will be made whole. But just like in our past, there are certain things, and Francie and I feel like and have experienced about 6 to 8 key things, key stories in your life that have dramatically affected the trajectory of your life. Well, coming to a retreat or a story group here in Knoxville that we're doing here in Knoxville this year, it will change the trajectory of your life. Is it going to fix everything? Absolutely not. But will it have an impact on the overall trajectory of your life and becoming more like who God created you to be in your fullness, in its fullness? Yeah.
So questions for listeners today is, where are you? Where what's the future looking like? Are you living in the future though? Are you living in the present? Are you living in the future? But just because you should be living in the present day, don't worry about tomorrow. But I know this is that I mean, we're all concerned about the trajectory and where life is going, and not necessarily, we don't have to worry about it. But I know that if I'm going in the right direction in my present, then my future is certainly clear. And so, man, I love you guys, like, from the bottom of my heart. And so I said no crying, but we already cried like 3 times, and so I'm thinking I'm going to cry right now. And so. And so, once again, gen225.org. These people change lives. Like, it changes the whole, like, future of where you're going, direction. May 19th is the movie. Get your ticket today. Like, guys, this is going to sell out. So before all the churches get all the tickets, get your tickets today. May 13th through the 15th, August 12th through the 15th. Those are also retreats, and then ultimately walking with people in love and not just sympathy, but compassion. That is sympathy with action. Victory Health Radio.
If you let me in again.